Hey everyone, welcome back to Vice Recaps. Today's episode is a sprawling, pulse-pounding saga that unfolds on St. Patrick's Day, a bank heist that drags our lawyer Matt, a deranged killer who paints with blood, and a return of our favorite hero, the devil who does God's work. Alright, let's get into it. The day begins with the city drenched in green as St. Patrick's Day celebrations take over the streets. Amid the chaos, Matt strolls into the bank on what he thought would be a routine day. Almost immediately, he's greeted by Yusuf Khan, the sharp-eyed assistant manager, who wastes no time noticing that Matt isn't wearing any green. "Where's your green, lawyer?" "This is St. Patrick's Day," Yusuf exclaims. Matt shrugs, but doesn't key too much into it, saying he prefers neutral colors. In the middle of their conversation, Yusuf's phone rings. His daughter Kamala is calling in from California. As Yusuf chats with her, he casually drops that he's originally from Jersey City, the very same city now home to Ms. Marvel. This catches Matt's interest, and to prove his point, Yusuf even pulls out a custom-made action figure of the hero as a reference. Soon after, Yusuf shifts gears and gets down to business, reviewing Matt's loan application. Matt, a lawyer with a mission to expand his firm and represent everyday folks against a corrupt system, passionately explains that his work isn't just important, it's necessary. But Yusuf, with a heavy dose of reality, reminds him that the bank is already drowning in debt, especially with cases like white tigers piling up from clients who can barely pay. Despite Matt's heartfelt pleas and the acknowledgement of his talent, the bank simply has no choice but to deny the loan request. But things take a turn for the worse. Just as Matt is about to leave, chaos erupts. A crew of armed robbers, wearing colored masks that clash with the festive green outside, storms into the bank, taking down the security and holding the place on lockdown. Their message is brutal and simple: resist and you'll regret it. In the ensuing pandemonium, Yusuf quietly slips away toward his office in a desperate bid to find help, while Matt's sharp senses realize a robbery is being played out. He goes back in, acting nonchalant to robbery. The robber leader, known only as Green, makes sure they know that nobody gets hurt as long as you all play along and stay out of our way. But when Matt warns him that if anyone dies of robbery charges could jump to murder, landing him a sentence of up to 25 years, Green doesn't take kindly to Matt's words. In a flash, he punches Matt and hits him with his gun, asserting his brutal authority. Not long after, the robbers demand to speak with the bank manager, Aldrich, but there's no response. Outside, the sound of police sirens grows louder as law enforcement begins to circle the building. Realizing that Aldrich is nowhere to be found, Green shifts his focus to Yusuf, ordering him to open the vault. Listening carefully to their plans, Matt leans over and quietly asks Yusuf, "Can you actually open a vault?" A visibly nervous Yusuf admits he only said yes because he was scared, and even contemplates taking back his word. But Matt quickly tells him to not change his story. Instead, Matt instructs, when they take you to the vault, stall for as long as you possibly can. Use that old trick. Act like the lock's jammed, like you keyed in the wrong combination. Just keep them busy. Yusuf swallows hard, his hands trembling as he nods, realizing this might be their only lifeline. Meanwhile, outside the bank, Detective Kim meets up with Officer Rodriguez, who fills her in on the escalating situation. Almost simultaneously, Kim receives a call from the robber leader, whose new alias is Jesse James. In a daring, almost mocking tone, Kim challenges him, daring him to grab a drink if he can, but Jesse James, well-versed in police negotiation tactics, coolly retorts that he's completely surrounded and only has two ways out: surrender in cuffs or get carried out in a body bag. Not stopping there, he demands 3 armored trucks, and with a smirk, he reminds her that just as robbers are meant to rob banks, her job is to stop him from killing hostages. Kim doesn't want to buy too much into it, and makes a deal: at least 2 hostages must be released. But Jesse James hangs up the phone, leaving Kim in utter disbelief. Things seem to be going their way, and to keep it that way, Green makes a split-second decision to release 2 hostages, a tearful woman and, unexpectedly, Matt. When the woman begs to leave with her husband, Matt sees it as an opportunity to finish his plan. So he suggests, "Let the guy take my place instead," even throwing in a bit of biting sarcasm about being treated specially just because he's blind. Green scoffs at the remark, declaring that he can't stand any lawyer, and the heated exchange of insults begins. In a surprising twist, Green picks up on a small detail: Matt's Irish blood and his humble beginnings in an orphanage. That little nugget of information seems to soften Green's resolve, at least momentarily, and in a snap decision, he lets the husband go while keeping Matt firmly in his grasp. Shortly after, a masked robber known as Blue escorts Yusuf down to the basement, and along with him, the 2 chosen hostages are released. One hostage leans over and tells the other there isn't any cash inside that vault. It's just safety deposit boxes. But why would anyone believe him? He explains that his family's bank has safeguarded secrets for decades, not money. Not long after this revelation, 2 more robbers, codenamed Yellow and Red, turn their attention to Matt. Yellow, noticing that Matt is still on his feet, nonchalantly shrugs and says he just needs to hit the bathroom. But Red isn't buying it. He raises his shotgun, making sure Matt understands the gravity of the situation. After a tense moment, Red begrudgingly agrees to escort him. As they move down a long, shadowed hallway, Matt listens in on Yusuf's stalling tactics. Old stories and bank legends meant to buy them precious seconds. Seizing the opportunity, Matt decides it's time to act. Relying on proficient combats, in the silent melee and tense blows. Matt's precise movements neutralizes Red, all while without letting his shotgun clatter to the floor and give away their position. With Red down, Matt rips off his mask and storms toward the vault. There, he wastes no time with Blue, but just then Green calls Blue. Matt manages to handle situation mimicking Blue's voice. He turns to Yusuf, saying in a low, determined tone, "Walking back empty-handed isn't an option. If these robbers realize we've been played, they'll make the hostages suffer." Under relentless pressure, Matt works feverishly on the vault security system, a system with over 100 million combinations. Using his sharp hearing, Matt picks up on the subtle, rhythmic clicks of the lock. After several nerve-wracking moments, the vault door finally swings open. Overwhelmed, Yusuf asks, "What kind of lawyer are you?" But there's no time to chat. The urgency of their situation propels him forward. Inside the vault, Yusuf discovers that every safety deposit box requires 2 keys, one held by the bank and the other by the owner. Curious about what the robbers are truly after, Matt checks the belongings of one of the masked criminals and finds a second key marked with the number 4. Acting on this clue, Yusuf starts testing every box that begins with that number. After several attempts, they finally hit the jackpot. A box opens to reveal a dazzling, large diamond that seems to glow with promise of hope amid the darkness. Back outside, the standoff takes a dramatic turn. Detective Kim, still locked in tense negotiations with Jesse James, now asks for more time to secure the trucks needed for the police operation, explaining that the holiday's logistics have complicated things. James, smirking, retorts that as a Protestant, he couldn't care less about St. Patrick's Day. But then, in an unexpected twist, he offers Kim a bizarre challenge. He'll give her 3 extra minutes if she can tell him a joke that makes him laugh, and if she succeeds, an additional 10 minutes will be hers. With a raised eyebrow and steely determination, Kim accepts the challenge, locking eyes with him as she begins her story with a playful grin. Slowly, his smirk softens into a reluctant chuckle, earning her the extra time she desperately needs. Meanwhile, as time ticks away inside the bank, Yusuf and Matt are ushered back upstairs. They're confronted by Verde, the green masked robber wielding a rifle, whose cold eyes demand an explanation. Matt, unshaken, warns Verde that time is running out, and that if he doesn't release the hostages immediately, the police will storm in. He reminds Verde that too much time has passed since the last conversation with Detective Kim, meaning the authorities are on the brink of breaching their defenses. Verde hesitates, his grip on the rifle tightening. Then, in a fit of frustration, he threatens to kill one of the hostages as a warning. Thinking quickly, Matt produces a diamond and offers it in exchange for the hostage's release. The leader of the robbers eyes him suspiciously and, with his gun pointed at Matt's head, threatens to blow his brains out. But just as the countdown to disaster nears its end, the police storm the bank. In the ensuing chaos, Verde wastes no time to save himself. Slipping away, he hides in an office and quickly changes into a police uniform to disguise himself. Not wasting a moment, Matt takes out one of the remaining robbers without anyone noticing, then uses his sharp Daredevil senses to track Verde. Before Verde can escape, he's seen handing the diamond to a bank employee with orders to deliver it to Luca. Sensing a turning point, Matt feigns injury and slips out of the bank unnoticed. Once outside, he dons a red mask and gives chase. A fierce fight breaks out. Matt shows no mercy as he uses broken glass bottles to slash Verde's face and lands a devastating blow that shatters Verde's leg. In an almost surreal twist, the woman tasked with transporting the diamond opens a package, only to find that instead of priced diamond, there are just candies, a mocking twist in an already chaotic day. After the confrontation, Matt returns to the bank. Yusuf informs him that according to police records, the diamond wasn't found on any of the robbers. Somehow it remains missing. Grateful for the momentary reprieve, Yusuf invites Matt to dinner at his house to discuss a plan to turn the bank's dire financial situation around and boost his law firm's profitability. Before leaving, Matt even grabs a stray candy from Yusuf's table as a cheeky reminder of the absurdity of the day. Moments later, the bank manager discovers a precious diamond hidden among the sweets, a secret kept in plain sight. But the narrative doesn't end there. The story broadens as we cut to Ulrich's interviews with a group of graffiti artists who passionately decry the city's tarnished reputation. They claim that while they're accused of damaging the city, it's the true criminals in power who inflict lasting harm. One artist declares that their art is a form of resistance, a way to shine a light on problems society desperately tries to ignore. Another insists that vigilantes, for all their flaws, at least try to fight back against corruption. Elsewhere, a dock worker makes a discovery, a lifeless body with no eyes among the rocky shores, a grim omen of the city's hidden horrors. Back at his apartment, a battered Matt wakes up and sinks into prayer, asking God for the strength to remain steadfast in his pursuit of justice and to keep his faith alive despite the relentless barrage of chaos. As he prays, memories flood his mind. Flashbacks to his friend Foggy, the brutal events at the bank, the struggles with Hector Ayala, confrontations with Rojo and corrupt cops, and even the harrowing near-fatal clash with Poindexter. Every battle, every failure, leaves a scar on Matt. But yet as each scar marks him, it's also a quiet, steady resolve to him. Just then, Glenn appears. She's on her way to a meeting with her editor about her next book on vigilantes and the fascination people have with masks. She wonders aloud whether these masks let people reveal their true selves or they simply give them ability to behave how they want. Matt muses that it might be a mix of both, and when Glenn asks for his advice, perhaps even set up a meeting with someone like Daredevil, Matt laughs it off, but nothing is reached. Meanwhile, power in the city shifts dramatically. Kingpin receives an unexpected visit from Luca, who arrives unannounced. In a terse 5-minute meeting, Kingpin bluntly reminds Luca that he must deliver $1.8 million to Viktor by the weekend. Luca, with respectful defiance, tells Kingpin to go to hell. Enraged, Kingpin ups the ante, demanding not only the original sum, but an extra $2 million. Luca warns him that he's no longer part of Kingpin's operation, and Kingpin, never one to back down, gives him a final ultimatum, 1 week to comply, before dismissing him coldly. Not long after, Kingpin meets with John, the man assigned to erase a mural painted against him. But the situation takes a darker turn when they discover that the paint used for the mural is human blood. Kingpin's expression hardens as he demands an immediate meeting with Gallo, who presents a chilling report. 12 waterproof murals exist, 5 of which contain impregnated DNA, and at least 60 people have fallen victim to a ruthless killer. Overwhelmed, Fisk lets out a brief laugh before warning that the culprit is just biding his time before striking again. He decrees that no word of this investigation leave his office and orders Gallo to gather his best men to monitor every mural closely, try and do his best and protect the city from further bloodshed. The story trails back to Matt and his visit from White Tiger's niece. Angela comes to ask Matt for help, hoping the once vigilante can solve the disappearing case. Matt unfortunately can't help her, and she leaves disappointed. That same night, 2 women walking together divert from their path when they notice a mysterious man, Muse, painting a mural. Intrigued, they ask to take his picture, but instead of answering, Muse silently captures him. At home, Kingpin recounts his encounter with Luca to Vanessa and explains how he's imposed an extra tax as punishment for Luca's disrespect. Later, he attends a rally with New York's elite, seeking funding for his port project, only to be met with a group of magnates who quickly set limits on his authority. They remind him that they're the ones running the city from the shadows, and if he oversteps, they'll ensure his political downfall. Though outwardly calm, Kingpin's mind races with plans for his next move as he struggles under the weight of his expanding power, so heavy that it contrasts with his suit being hard. On the flip side, Matt receives an unexpected visit from Cherry, who reveals the grim existence of a serial killer known as Muse, responsible for over 60 homicides. Cherry explains that Muse doesn't just kill, he uses his victims' blood to create works of art. Despite the horror of it all, Cherry begs Matt not to intervene, insisting that the police should handle the case to avoid further complications. Yet something about Muse's twisted art gnaws at Matt's conscience. At a subsequent rally, Daniel abruptly interrupts the meeting to show his boss Muse's latest artwork, a mural incorporating the bodies of 2 women who disappeared the previous night. Shocked by the revelation, Kingpin summons Gallo the next day and announces the creation of a special forces unit under his direct supervision. Gallo, reviewing a list of pre-selected agents with troubled backgrounds, warns that they might be a risky choice. Kingpin dismisses his concerns, insisting that these agents, victims of bad luck who showed real initiative, are exactly what his operation needs. Among them is Sergeant Cole North. Cole recounts a harrowing experience from January 14th, a confrontation with a drug dealer in a park that ended with him forcing a confession out of a suspect using violence, even as his captain reprimanded him for overstepping. As night deepens, Angela, Hector Ayala's determined niece, decides to take matters into her own hands and investigate the recent kidnappings near the Old Q line on 61st Street. She believes her uncle was onto something big. Not long after, Angela's fate takes a dark turn. Venturing alone into an abandoned subway line, she is captured by Muse, who drags her to his dark hideout and begins his gruesome work extracting her blood for his next piece of art. At that moment, Matt receives a worried call from Soledad, telling him that Angela hasn't returned since she mentioned visiting him. Finally pushed to the edge, Matt makes a decision he's been avoiding. He dons his Daredevil suit once again. With his vigilante identity reawakened, he races across city rooftops, trying his every best that might bring him closer to the missing girl. In a parallel grim storyline, Kingpin descends to Adam's cell, this time wielding an axe. With cold determination, he admits that while his wife would prefer him to set Adam free, he knows it's impossible. They're both bound by dark, unbreakable experiences. His intent is clear, to end it all right here and now. Yet, as a memory from his youth flashes before him, recalling a brutal street brawl where a simple tool turned the tide, Kingpin sees a chance to either finish Adam off or give him a final chance to fight back. After a long, reflective pause, Kingpin hurls the axe at Adam. The ensuing struggle is raw and desperate. Adam grabs a weapon and charges fiercely, but Kingpin's brute strength overwhelms him. In another corner of the subway, Muse watches as Angela's blood slowly drips, but just then, Daredevil intercepts him. A brutal melee erupts, a blur of fists, shattered glass, and merciless strikes. Muse attempts to fight back with a knife, but Daredevil's combat prowess outmatches him completely. In the chaos, Daredevil races to free Angela, who is on the brink of death. Enraged, Muse gathers his remaining strength and lunges with the intent to execute her, but Daredevil reacts with the hope of not letting another friend, Hector Ayala, down. As fury and rage consumes them both, Daredevil finds himself locked in a deadly dance with Muse, paralleling the brutal clashes between Kingpin and Adam. Suddenly, a moment of clarity hits Daredevil. Angela is losing too much blood. Reluctantly, he releases his grip on Muse and rushes to perform CPR. After several agonizing seconds, Angela's eyes flutter open, though Muse has already vanished into the night. In a parallel twist, Kingpin chooses to spare Adam, leaving him battered but yet still alive. As the night winds down, Angela, still trembling on the brink of death, reaches out to Daredevil. He reassures her, promising that he's still here, as the episode comes to a close on a bittersweet note. If you this peak recap of Daredevil, kindly drop and like and subscribe. It's about time we donned the mask of Daredevil after waiting for 6 episodes. I'll see y'all next time.